All right, welcome everyone to our September 1st driver meeting. This is the first driver safety meeting of the month of September, and we've got a bunch of things to discuss. Well, first of all, we want to remind everybody of the goal policy, and I got goal cards up here, so after the meeting I want everybody to come up and take the goal card. It's a reminder. You can put it on your dashboard to be that visible reminder of what you're supposed to be doing. Getting out to look before you hook, getting out to look before you back every single time. Big thing for today is today, the state of Colorado requires that chains be on your truck. You have to have chains present, whatever's required. We sent a fleet-wide out yesterday about that to make sure that everybody was aware, but still we want to keep that reminder up in case it was something you thought about and then you thought, I'll do that later, and you've put it off. You can't put that off. That's going to be a $500 fine if you're caught inside the state of Colorado without the proper required chains for your truck. If you were to be find yourself stuck in the snow without chains, the fine can be as much as $1,500. If you chose not to chain when they put the chain law up, or didn't have them while they had the chain law up and you were disabled, the minimum fine there is $1,500. So we want you to be protected. The company provides the chains. If you're out there and you don't have the chains, we're going to groan a little bit, but we'll still buy them out there so that you're protected, okay? We'll get those chains for you. Just make sure that you are checking the chains that you have and have the chains that you need. Remember the trailers with the wide base or the large tires? Those trailers carry their own chains. So you're going to need to check that chain rack and make sure that if you have a trailer with wide base tires, it has 2 good chains on that rack. Okay? Don't just assume they're good. Pull them out a little bit, look at them, check them, because if they've been run before and they've got broken cross members, then they're going to do you no good if you're actually required to chain up. The next thing that we wanted to talk about is the chaining classes that we're going to be having. We've got the chaining class outline here. So again, at the end of the class period, I've got a whole stack of these for everybody to take them. This is the synopsis of the chaining class that we have online. So if you watch the video, this is the chaining class. That's got all of the information that the class contains so that you can take it and have that as a reference. Our applied winter driving contract, everybody signs this every single year for our company, and here's a stack of them. So if you haven't signed one of these winter driving contracts, you'll need to take one of these and sign it at the end of the meeting. Now, we are doing chaining class directly after this meeting. So beginning at 1 o'clock, we're going to be gathering up here and then going out onto the yard. Everyone who wants to do a live chaining class is going to go out there with me, and we are going to chain up a truck, and we are going to do that demonstration. I'll demonstrate with a triple rail chain just like in the video, show you how it's done. Watching the video can be helpful for a lot of people, but some people just learn hands-on, and so we are providing these classes. We're providing the class today starting at 1 o'clock, and then again tomorrow we're having another chaining class. So Friday, September the 2nd at 9 a.m. we will hold another live chaining class, so that we're going to start getting as many people involved as possible. You have a question?
Yeah, do you guys only do the triples, or do you guys also have singles?
We do chain with the single rails. The point of it is the triple rail is the hardest chain to chain. So if you are instructed on how to get the triple rails on properly, then the single rails are a piece of cake. But I will give a quick demonstration on the single rail as well.
Okay.
Good question. All right. So throughout the year, throughout the fall, we're going to be having more of these chaining classes. Usually on Wednesday, a fleet-wide will go out to let everybody know when the chaining classes are going to be. We will also hold other classes at different points during the week on Wednesdays and also on Fridays and Sundays, a couple of times throughout the winter. So just be on the lookout. If you haven't been to a class and you need to go to one, you want to have that hands-on training, then watch those fleet-wide messages, because it's within the fleet-wide messages that it's going to say, and hey, a chaining class is, or this other class is. So we do those announcements. So please read your fleet-wides all the way through, because we do try to just send one message with various different pieces of information in it. Yes?
Are they mandatory?
Are the chaining classes mandatory?
Yes.
No, the chaining classes are not mandatory. They are provided for your benefit. We do need you to know the company policy on chaining, but that is also included in the safety handbook. So if you've read your safety handbook, you also have that information as far as the policy goes. It's simply the fact that we do know that a lot of people get misinformation about chaining, and or they just don't know all the tips and tricks on how to chain quickly and effectively, and that's what this class is for.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so there's some other topics that I wanted to cover today. First of all, some of the basics. DOT inspections. If you are inspected by DOT, you need to get that inspection certificate into us as soon as possible. So if you are not coming back to the yard, you need to put that in a trip pack, right on the trip pack for safety, and payroll department, as they get those packs, will bring those inspection certificates into us. But we need them, whether they're a clean inspection or one with a violation, we need them as soon as we can get them. So please make sure you remember to do that when you're inspected. Any clean inspection is worth a $20 gift card. As soon as it's in here, we implant it into the safety system, and even if it takes you 3 weeks to get back here, all you have to do is walk back into safety and say, hey, I turned in a clean inspection. We'll pull it up on the computer and give you a gift card, okay? So that is a guaranteed thing. Now, if you have a violation on the inspection, you'll need to talk to one of us in safety about that. So usually you'll get a call from either me, JC, Dawn, or Nikki about whatever the violation was. Sometimes we do ask you to come in here for training about the issue that the violation was about. So that would be required. If you've had a violation on a safety inspection and we deem it necessary for you to have training, you have to come back to safety to get that training. The point is if a problem has occurred in the past and we think you need the training, or we're uncertain of whether or not you know how to avoid that kind of problem again, we are going to ask you to come back here to get that training so that in the future you don't have that problem. You don't have the chance of having that problem. It's about educating the workforce. We're not just going to slap your hand, say don't do it again, and let you just go out there with the chance that you don't know something that could be critical to your safety as well as others in the future. So let's handle these DOT inspections carefully, and remember that if there is any violation on that DOT inspection, you are to stay with the equipment until it is fixed. The only time that doesn't happen is if you're bringing it right here to the yard and say you have a trailer that was inspected down in St. George at the port, and it had rubbing airlines, and they said, here's your violation, here's your inspection, and you need to get it fixed. Shop's going to tell you to go ahead and bring that up here to Salt Lake. When you get here, you need to take that inspection form in to whoever is managing the shop, and we have that 24-hour manager. Take it to the shop manager and let them know, here's the inspection, the trailer's here at the yard. That's the only time you're going to drop equipment where you were responsible initially for that inspection. So get that done right, and it saves a lot of pain and heartache. It is my nightmare to call a driver up about an inspection and find out that the trailer was dropped with defects not being addressed at a customer. So another driver not previously involved now has to get involved and has to deal with that. So that's a nightmare. We don't want that happening. All right, so inspections. Last thing is, I believe next week I'm going to be going over all of the inspections from the last 2 months, and we're going to do a meeting that is highlighting all of the things that we failed inspections on, and talking about how those things can be avoided so that we have a better understanding of the kind of violations that Pride Transport has been subject to. In this way, if we are finding and highlighting the things that DOT is finding wrong with our fleet, and letting the drivers have an opportunity to understand that's what's going on, then that should help all of you to better focus your inspections so that we aren't failing those inspections in the future. Some other things that have been coming up recently are trailers being dropped either way too high in the air or way too low. All summer long we have been working at this and putting out information, and it seems like it just is not getting through. So I'm going to repeat again. We need our landing gear dropped down to the pavement with just a firm pressure. If you keep cranking after firm pressure has happened, then the next truck that comes through might find that trailer clear up in the air. So our proper way to drop the trailer is landing gear firmly on the ground, and then we're going to take that air dump switch, flip the air dump switch, wait till the gauge goes all the way to 0 on the suspension air, and then pull out from underneath the trailer. That's the proper way to drop it, and that's going to give us an average good height. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to find trailers the proper height at all. We still need to get out and look before we hook because of those drivers who aren't getting the message. And what about going to customers where a hostler has handled our equipment and they're dropping them at all kinds of different heights? So as much as we can do to make sure our trailers are at a proper height, there is still only so much that it's actually going to benefit us. So the next thing is scaling your loads on certified scales. Just this last month we've had an inordinate amount of inspections at weigh stations where our drivers have had violations for not scaling, where they're way overweight on a tandem or on the drives. So we don't need to repeat to you that you have to scale your load. Any load that's about 23,000 pounds or more, I'm going to scale that. And it doesn't matter that there's pretty much no way I could be overweight on an axle at that kind of a weight in the trailer. The point is, here at Pride, we're not just about squeaking in under what's barely legal. It's about what's good for our customer, what's good for our equipment. So when we balance out that load and we scale it and we see that we've got way more on the trailer than on the truck, we want to adjust that as much as possible. Given that California, sometimes we have trouble doing that, but we do the best we can to balance the load so that it rides the best. We want to take care of our customer's product. That's why we're a company, is because we serve our customers. And part of scaling our load is serving the customers. Remember, come wintertime, when you scale, you want your trailer tandems to be 500 to 1,000 pounds lighter than your truck. So our next topic is U-turns. U-turns. We're not to be making U-turns on public roadways. If you have to drive around the block, then drive around the block. But U-turns on roadways are not acceptable. Time and time again, a driver who's trying to do a U-turn on a roadway ends up off on the shoulder and ends up high-centered and needing a tow truck. Time and time and time again, we have seen this happen. It is company policy that we do not U-turn on roadways. So we need to find a parking lot. And if you find yourself in a situation that you simply cannot deal with, you're in a position where you're in a bind, call the highway patrol, call somebody to come help you get out of that. You are not to back up on a roadway with a trailer without a guide. Now, if you have a guide, if you have, say, an officer that's blocking the road and making it safe for you to back out of that situation to some place where you can get safely turned around, then it's okay to do so. You have a official guide. So remember, don't go U-turning on roadways. If you get into that situation, then you're going to be paying the tow bill, and you're probably going to be being written up for violating a company policy against U-turning. And when you're on a yard, U-turn as wide as possible. We see a lot of tire and suspension damage done to our trailers because of really tight U-turns. And believe me, we've all seen the hostler that goes straight to the side and then drags that trailer around in a little circle. You see that happening with our equipment, go and talk to the manager. Tell them this is unacceptable. Let the safety department know that you just saw the trailer number and what facility. Let us know about it. That is equipment abuse. That can rip the tread off the trailer. It can cause tread separation. And if they're doing it with a loaded trailer, more so than with an empty trailer. But it is not safe behavior, and it's not good for other people to be doing that with our trucks and trailers as well. So be conscientious. You see them doing it to all trailers. So that's very important for us to understand about U-turns, not on roadways, and U-turns in parking lots should always be taken as wide as possible to allow the trailer tires to roll through the turn rather than to scoot sideways. Next topic. Using the air dump. I kind of talked about that a little bit. Make sure that that air dump is all the way down to 0 before you pull out from underneath the trailer. Sliding your tandems. Sliding tandems is the next subject that we're talking about. People tend to default to only sliding the tandems when a customer asks you to do it or tells you to do it in the case of Hershey. And honestly, we have air ride equipment that safe operating practices tells us we slide the tandems to the tail when we load and when we unload. Anyone who's operated a forklift will tell you that whoever backs up a trailer to a dock with their tandems forward is not going to be loaded very quickly. It's actually not safe. When that forklift comes in and the whole base of the trailer sinks down underneath the forklift and the pallet, what if the forklift tips? What if the pallet tips over as that happens? It's not safe for the forklift driver, it's not safe for the freight, and it can cause extensive damage to the trailer. So slide your tandems all the way to the rear for every load or unload, unless somebody requests that you don't do it. There are times when sliding the tandems all the way back can lift the trailer too high, and in that case, you're going to have to, do what the customer is asking of you. But default to what is right. And remember, you need to check all 4 pins. I show everybody that picture now in orientation of that pin, the rail riding up on top of the pin. And that comes from those kind of things happening, tight U-turns followed by somebody not checking to make sure the pins were locked in. All right, trailer tails. Trailer tails, this is usually something that I talk about during the backing discussion because we have so many accidents with trailer tails during backing. Well, we have to remember that it is company policy that we do not leave our parking lot with the tails closed. They need to be open. If we're going to be traveling on a roadway, they need to be open. It damages the tail to be run closed. It also reduces whatever fuel efficiency you had with that trailer. It's going to be significantly reduced because those tails closed up on the back end are like a parachute back there catching air and holding it. So if you run with them closed, you are taking your fuel bonus and throwing it away, at least to the extent that you have that trailer. But beyond that, you are damaging company equipment. It damages the hinges and it damages the latches for them to be run with the latches closed while the wind pulls back against those tails. So you're damaging company equipment when you forget to open those things up. They need to be opened. And then, of course, you've got to remember, you cannot back up with those tails open. They've got to be closed. Have to be closed. We have had accident after accident where the driver knew they had tails and thought, well, I'm just going to back up and get close before I go close them. And then the accident happened before they could close them up. So don't be the victim of your own mistake there. Close them before you ever back. The last topic that I'm going to cover right now for this meeting is clean glass, clean dash. Company policy. Our vehicles are kept and maintained in an orderly fashion, and your dashboard and your cab of your truck is a public area. We need to keep that clean. DOT inspectors look for trucks with junked up dashboards as an indication of a sloppy driver. We don't have sloppy drivers here. So make sure your dashboard is cleaned off and kept clean. And when it comes to clean glass, well, visibility is one of the keys to not having accidents, being able to see what's going on around you. And if your glass is dirty, that's not going to happen. So make sure that you're cleaning your glass, stopping as often as you need to when you're going through bug storms. Get that glass cleaned off. So we've covered a lot of topics today. Hopefully everybody's learned something and or been refreshed on something they had forgotten about.